I want you to imagine, just for a second, looking at a blinking cursor on a creepy Craigslist ad.
Oh, man. The worst.
Right.
Hmm.
You're sitting in a brand new apartment, and, you know, the smell of cardboard from all your unpacked moving boxes is still just hanging in the air.
Yeah.
You've just relocated to a new city, maybe for a day job, maybe you just, I don't know, needed a fresh start.
Oh.
And you've got your clothes, your furniture, and sitting right there in the corner is your favorite guitar.
Or like a digital drawing tablet. Or a MIDI keyboard.
Exactly. You're completely ready to create, but then the silence of that empty apartment just hits you. Because you haven't just left behind your favorite coffee shop or your old commute
You've left your network.
overnight.
Yeah.
You've completely severed your entire creative lifeline. You have no bandmates.
Yeah.
You have no idea where the local rehearsal spaces are.
You don't know who the reliable sound engineers are.
No one. You have absolutely no one to bounce ideas off of. You are starting from absolute zero.
Which is terrifying.
It is. And so, out of sheer desperation, you open Craigslist, knowing full well that the person who replies to your drummer wanted ad might be your next creative soulmate.
Or they might steal your kidneys.
Or they steal your kidneys. Exactly.
I mean, it's a remarkably vulnerable position to be in. What you're describing isn't just like basic loneliness. It is the total collapse of an artist's infrastructure.
Yeah.
And the sheer anxiety of that exact moment, it's something that plays out thousands of times a day across the globe. You're just stripped of your context.
And that specific flavor of isolation, right, that anxiety of the disconnected artist, that is the entire focus of our deep dive today.
It's such a great topic.
It really is. We've got our hands on this fascinating internal product document. It's version 1.0, dated April 2026, for a platform called ArtBnB.
Which stands for Art, Build, and Beyond.
Right, Art, Build, and Beyond. And over the course of this deep dive, we're going to completely deconstruct this document, like pull it apart down to the studs.
Yeah, we're looking at the psychology, the tech stack, and really the profound social problem it's trying to solve.
Because it is profound. And I think we need to frame this within the broader philosophical context of the moment we're living in right now.
Absolutely. Because modern technology, and let's be super specific here, social media algorithms and generative AI, they have been explicitly, like, mathematically designed to maximize digital engagement.
Right, the engagement trap.
Yeah. The tech industry has spent the last 2 decades building these brilliant machines that basically keep us paralyzed on our couches, staring at glowing rectangles.
Which is, it's wild when you say it out loud.
It is. But the profound irony here is that in this hyper-connected digital state, society as a whole, and especially artists, have actually become radically isolated.
Totally isolated.
And ArtBnB is positioning itself as a direct, almost aggressive antidote to that. I mean, that the thesis of this entire document is about using technology strictly as a bridge.
Not a destination.
Yeah. Exactly. The goal of this app isn't to keep you on the app. The goal is to get you off the app into a physical room, making real-world art with a stranger.
I want to dig right into that, actually, because the document opens with this incredibly bold, deceptively simple thesis statement. It says, great things are rarely built alone. And they make a really interesting argument. They say the problem in the creative economy right now isn't a lack of talent.
Right. There's no talent shortage at all.
No. The problem is entirely a finding problem.
Which is a fundamental shift, I think, in how we view the whole starving artist trope. We so often think artists fail because they aren't good enough or the market is too saturated.
Yeah, that's the standard excuse.
But the document argues that the friction isn't the art itself, it's the logistics. I mean, if you look back at historical creative booms...
Like Seattle in the 90s?
Yes. The grunge scene in Seattle, or the hip-hop explosion in the Bronx in the 70s, or even, you know, the impressionist painters in Paris. What was the common denominator there?
They were all in the same place.
Exactly. It wasn't that a random geographic area suddenly birthed a bunch of geniuses out of nowhere. It was geographic density.
Physical proximity.
Right. It was people physically bumping into each other at the same venues, sharing the same cheap rehearsal spaces, cross-pollinating ideas.
Right. They were literally in the same physical room. And the document claims that the internet, for all its networking promises, actually destroyed that density.
It completely diluted it.
And they break this down into 3 highly interconnected logistical problems that are just suffocating artists today. Number 1, finding local collaborators you can actually trust.
Huge.
Number 2, finding local opportunities, like gigs, commissions, gallery openings. And number 3, which honestly feels like the biggest bottleneck to me, finding physical space to actually practice and perform.
Oh, space is everything. And what's incredibly revealing here is how the document dissects the current toolkit that artists are sort of forced to use to solve these 3 problems.
Yeah, the breakdown is brutal.
Because when you look at it analytically, the tools are spectacularly misaligned with what an artist actually needs.
I mean, the analysis of the current tools is spot on. Let's look at the options. We already mentioned Craigslist.
Yeah, the functional but creepy option.
Literally what the document calls it. Functional but creepy. You post an ad, you get an email from some burner account, and you have 0 guarantee of safety.
None. There is no reputation layer whatsoever.
And then you have Facebook groups,
which represent a totally different kind of failure. Facebook wasn't built for the specialized taxonomy of art. It's built for broad community engagement.
Right.
So an artist posts, hey, looking for a jazz bassist, and that post is instantly buried under 20 posts about lost cats or, people complaining about local traffic.
Yeah, you're entirely at the mercy of an algorithmic feed.
Exactly. A feed that prioritizes outrage and high engagement over highly specific, low-volume utility.
And then there's the Instagram DM approach, which is just, it's throwing a message into a dark abyss.
Totally cold outreach.
You find someone whose aesthetic you like. You send a cold message and you wait. You have no idea if they actually want to collaborate.
Or if they even have time.
Or if they just hired a really good photographer to make them look like a working musician.
Right. But this is where I actually need to stop and challenge the document a bit, because they bring up a very specific competitor in the space.
Oh, Vampray.
Yeah, Vampra, which is often pitched to investors as like the LinkedIn for musicians.
Right. And the document notes that Vampra has over 1 million users. They exist specifically to solve this exact problem.
So they have the numbers.
So if there's a dedicated app with 1 million users, why are we sitting here reading a product document for a brand new app?
That's the big question.
Like, basic statistics say that if there are 1 million people on Vampr, there have to be at least a few dozen in my zip code, right? Why can't artists just use the tools that are already there?
Are they just being overly dramatic to justify their own existence?
Exactly. Is the problem really the tech, or are artists just, bad at networking?
It's a totally fair pushback. But this gets to the core of why social networks fail when they try to map onto physical realities.
Okay, unpack that.
It's not that Vampra's UI is terrible or that artists are lazy. It's that their fundamental business incentives are completely misaligned with the user's needs. Vampr, like most venture-backed tech platforms, optimized for digital scale.
Meaning they just wanted big numbers.
Right. When you pitch to a venture capitalist in Silicon Valley, you need a graph going up and to the right. You need to be able to say, we have 1 million users globally.
Okay, but how does that actually hurt the user? I mean, more people is better.
Not if they're in the wrong place. Because when you optimize for global user acquisition, you spread your network incredibly thin.
Oh, I see.
You end up with 10 users in Austin, 5 in London, 20 in Tokyo. And to make the app look active, the algorithm inevitably starts showing you people outside your immediate geographic area.
Because a blank screen is bad for business.
Exactly. If you open the app and see nobody, you leave. So the app says, hey, we couldn't find a bassist in your neighborhood, but here's an amazing bassist in London.
Which is completely useless to me if I need someone to come to a warehouse in downtown Austin at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday to practice.
Precisely. The tech is optimizing for the digital graph. It's making the app feel full and active, but it's entirely ignoring the physical reality of making art.
Right.
Collaboration requires being in the same room. 1 million global users is basically a vanity metric. If those users aren't within a 10-mile radius of you, the network density is functionally 0.
That is a massive distinction. The vanity metric of global scale actually destroys local utility.
Yeah.
It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but the algorithm keeps showing you hay from across the ocean. Like hay from London when you live in Texas.
That's a great analogy. It's incredibly frustrating for the user.
Okay, so if the systemic problem is a lack of local density, who exactly is ArtBnB trying to build this density for? Because the document gets incredibly specific about their target user.
Almost uncomfortably specific.
Yeah. And I have some questions about their strategy here. They define their primary persona very tightly. We are looking at musicians, dancers, filmmakers, and visual artists, primarily between the ages of 20 and 35.
But the crucial differentiator is their commitment level.
Right. These are not casual hobbyists.
No.
They aren't the person who dusts off an acoustic guitar once every 6 months to play Wonderwall at a campfire.
Please, no more Wonderwall.
Right. But they also aren't established professionals. They aren't signed to Sony Music with a dedicated manager booking out their calendar.
They're in the trenches?
They are actively trying to build a portfolio, put together an indie film, get a band off the ground.
And the document drills down even further than that. They don't just want any serious amateur. They are designing the entire app for what they call the sharpest version of this persona.
And the sharpest version is that exact person we described in the intro, right? The newcomer. The person who just moved, lost their network, and is completely desperate. But honestly, I look at this and I see a glaring strategic flaw.
Really? Why?
Well, if you are building a network, a platform, whose entire value relies on having a critical mass of humans, why on earth would you intentionally limit your audience?
Ah, I see what you're saying.
Like, shouldn't you want as many people as possible?
Yeah.
Why not target the hobbyists? Why not target the established price? Doesn't targeting just the desperate new kid in town basically guarantee you're going to stunt your own growth?
It seems completely counterintuitive, right? Especially in an era where every app wants to be the everything app for everyone.
Exactly.
But from a product strategy standpoint, this is actually the smartest thing in the entire document. What you are describing, that desire to be for everyone, is a massive trap.
A trap.
Yes. When you design an app for everyone, your marketing, your features, your messaging, it all becomes so watered down and generic that nobody feels like it was built for them.
So you cast a wide net and catch nothing.
Exactly. You end up capturing no one. You have to be aggressively specific to get people to care. You have to find your wedge.
A wedge, like driving it into a log.
Right. This is classic startup theory. It's often called the bowling pin strategy. You don't try to knock down all the pins at once. You aim for the lead pin.
Okay, and in this case, the newcomer in a city is the lead pin.
Yes. Why? Because their pain is the most acute. Think about the established local artist who already has a drummer. They might download your app, hit one minor bug, get annoyed, and just delete it.
Because they don't really need it.
Right. Their pain isn't high enough to tolerate friction. But the new arrival, the person who has zero friends and a burning desire to play music,
They'll put up with anything.
they will forgive a clunky UI. They will deal with bugs. They will actually follow through and show up to a meetup in a rainy parking lot.
Because their only alternative is that blinking cursor on Craigslist.
Exactly. They have the absolute highest motivation. And here's the genius of the wedge. If you build a system that flawlessly solves the problem for the most desperate, most difficult use case starting from absolute zero, it will naturally scale.
It scales to the easier problems.
Right. If it works for the new kid, it will definitely work for the established local who just wants to find a new horn section for a weekend gig. You win the hardest user first, and the rest follow.
Win the artist user first. Okay, I buy that. It's about securing a really solid foothold.
Exactly.
So let's transition from the theory into the actual mechanics. How does ArtBnB actually build a system that the desperate newcomer can use safely?
Because we established Craigslist is creepy.
Super creepy. So how do you solve the human element of safety and reliability using code? This brings us into what the document calls the core loops, starting with discovery and trust.
Right, the foundation of any digital network is the user profile. But feature one in this document, the ArtBnB profile, is distinctly different from what we're used to seeing.
Very different.
If you look at LinkedIn, the profile is designed to reward corporate credentials and pedigree. If you look at Instagram, the profile rewards highly curated aesthetics and, beauty.
Right.
But the ArtBnB profile strips all of that away to answer one fundamental, highly practical question. Can I trust you to show up?
Which, again, is really the only thing that matters at 8 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Truly.
The profile includes your art form, your genre tags, your specific ZIP code, and you're looking for status. And sure, you can link your SoundCloud or your Instagram so people can actually hear your music or see your art.
Yeah, it's not trying to replace those portfolios.
No, but the real magic here isn't the bio itself. It's feature two, which is their approach to local discovery.
This is where they take a sledgehammer to the Vamper model.
Good riddance.
The default search on ArtBnB is hard-coded to a 10-mile ZIP radius. Period.
Wow.
There is no global feed. You cannot sit on your couch in Chicago and doom scroll through amazing guitarists living in Berlin. The app simply won't let you do it.
It aggressively forces you to confront your actual neighborhood. You can filter by art form, distance, and who's actively looking to collaborate, but only within driving distance.
It's pure utility.
But here is the piece of the puzzle that the document really highlights as their masterstroke. They call it their moat.
The thing that makes them impossible for a competitor to easily copy.
Right. It's feature 3, the Practiced with Trust badge.
This is the critical piece of infrastructure that solves the Craigslist problem.
Let's break down the mechanics of how it actually works.
Okay, let's say you and I meet on the app. I'm a drummer, you play bass. We agree to meet up at a local rehearsal room.
Sounds fun.
We spend 2 hours jamming. After the session, either one of us can open the app and send a request to confirm the meetup. If we both tap confirm, a small permanent badge appears on both of our profiles that says, practiced with one artist.
It's a portable reputation system.
Precisely.
Yeah.
It brings the concept of like the Uber driver rating or the Airbnb guest review into the creative space.
But it's not a star rating, right?
Yeah. No, and that's key. It's not based on subjective star ratings, which can be super toxic and petty. It's a binary verification of physical reality. Did this person show up?
I really want to emphasize how important this is, because the document makes a brilliant point here. It's the difference between someone just typing "I play bass" in a bio.
Which literally anyone can do.
Right. And having a profile where 3 real, local human beings have mathematically verified, yes, this person exists in the physical world, they showed up to the room on time, they weren't a creep, and they actually held a bass guitar.
This gets back to the concept that code and algorithms usually ignore the messy human reality of physical safety.
Yeah.
A matching algorithm can find you someone with the same musical interests in a millisecond, but an algorithm cannot tell you if that person is safe to be around.
It can't read the vibe.
Exactly.
I don't
The
know
Practice
her.
With badge bridges the digital and
But I
physical.
cannot
It
tolerate
proves you
this
aren't a
girl.
ghost profile created by a bot in another country.
And over time, think about the
You're
compounding
enjoying,
value of
okay,
that.
but मुझे तो-
If an artist has 15 of these badges, that is someone the local community deeply, unequivocally vouches for.
It's invaluable.
And the UX detail here, the user experience detail, is so thoughtful. The document explicitly notes that declines for these badges are silent.
Oh, I love this part.
Right. If we jam together and it's just a terrible vibe, maybe you're super arrogant or, you just play terribly and you send me a badge request, I can just ignore it.
You don't get a notification saying, like, host rejected your badge.
Exactly. There's no awkwardness, no confrontation. You just don't get the verification. It protects the integrity of the badge without creating any social friction.
It's a mechanism designed entirely around building a high-trust environment, because trust must precede scale.
Say that again?
Trust must precede scale. If you try to scale a platform where people are getting stood up or feeling unsafe, the platform dies instantly.
Okay, so let's play this out. I've used the 10-mile radius. I found a basis with 3 trust badges. We message, we agree to meet up.
Yeah, can you click
But
on the
here is the
notification bell at
massive
the
physical
entrance?
bottleneck.
Where do you go?
Where do we actually go? We can't set up a
Can you
drum
click
kit and a
the
bass amp at
ring
the local
Bell
Starbucks.
icon in the
And I live in a tiny
on the
apartment
wall.
with neighbors who will call the cops if I even look at my guitar too
the
loudly.
right pad.
And this brings us to the second core loop of the product document, which is arguably the most economically brilliant part of the entire strategy.
Yeah, you can
Inventory
put
as
it
the
in
hook.
Feature
lobby.
4 is space discovery. They're putting physical real estate right on the app. Dance studios, soundproof rehearsal
We are
rooms,
coming,
photo
we are coming
studios,
down. Just
even
1
empty
minute.
rooftops.
1 or
But
2
there's a
minutes we'll be
catch.
down
Always
there.
a catch.
For phase 1, the launch phase, this isn't a seamless Airbnb-style booking engine.
We're
It is
coming.
strictly browse and contact.
You see the space, you see the photos, but to actually book it, you have to click a button that calls or emails the studio owner directly.
Yeah, no in-app booking yet.
And on top of that, the document says the founder is manually seating the first 5 spaces themselves. Like they are literally calling places up and entering the data by hand.
Which leads us directly into what the tech industry calls the cold start problem. The document states quite plainly, spaces solve the cold start problem.
Okay, I need a serious ELLI 5 here. Explain. Like, I'm 5. What exactly is the cold start problem, and why do physical rooms solve it?
Okay, the cold start problem is basically the existential nightmare of any network-based business. Imagine a new telephone network.
Okay.
Why would you buy a telephone if none of your friends own one? You have no one to call.
Right.
But why would your friends buy one if you don't own one? A network with 0 users provides 0 value. So how do you get the very first user to join?
Right. If I download ArtBnB on day 1 and there are no other musicians in my city on the app, I'm going to delete it immediately.
Exactly. You open it, see an empty screen, and you churn. You're gone.
Mm-hmm.
But ArtBnB bypasses this entirely by using spaces as the initial value proposition. Even if the network has 0 other artists on it in your city, you, as a single solitary user, can download the app, Browse local rehearsal rooms you didn't even know existed and contact them.
So the physical real estate provides immediate utility to a single user.
Yes. The spaces are the inventory that hooks them.
That makes total sense. It gives the app utility on day zero.
But I have to push back on this manual seating thing.
The founder calling studios?
Yeah, the founder is manually calling studios, asking for their rates, and typing them into the app. Isn't that essentially faking it?
It feels like it.
Shouldn't a genuinely disruptive piece of technology grow organically? If it's a good app, shouldn't studio owners be rushing to list their spaces themselves? Why is the founder doing grunt work?
It feels like faking it, but in the startup world, it is absolute survival. The document outlines this under Learning 6. They realize that waiting for organic supply is a death sentence.
Because of the first impression. Right. An empty app is a trust-destroying first impression. If a studio owner downloads it to list their space but sees no artists, they leave. If an artist downloads it and sees no spaces, they leave.
So someone has to prime the pump.
You have to manufacture the initial gravity. Paul Graham, the founder of Y Combinator, famously wrote an essay called Do Things That Don't Scale.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah. Manually scraping data and calling studio owners doesn't scale to 1 million users. But you only need 5 spaces to make the app look alive in one city.
It's unglamorous.
It is unglamorous, grueling work. But you cannot wait for the community to build the stage. You must build the stage first and then invite the actors.
Build the stage, invite the actors. I like
Right.
that. Okay, so feature 5 is the final piece of this physical ecosystem. It's the gigs and opportunities board. Open calls, casting notices, session work.
And the insight here is that a gig and a collaboration are often functionally the same thing at the indie level.
Right, if a local songwriter posts, hey, I need a cellist for a 3-hour recording session, they're essentially auditioning a collaborator.
Exactly. The opportunity board is vital because it provides what the document calls the active demand signal.
Active demand signal, meaning it's not just a static list of people who exist in the city, it's a live pulse of what the community is actively trying to build right now.
Yes, it shows momentum. It proves the local scene is actually alive.
All right, so we have a beautifully designed local ecosystem. We've got the desperate newcomer. We've verified they aren't a serial killer with the trust badge.
Always a plus.
We've manually seeded the rehearsal spaces, and we have live gigs on the board. The gravity is manufactured. But this brings us to a very harsh reality.
The money.
The money. Running a complex geographic database is not cheap. Cloud servers cost money, and independent artists, bless them, are not exactly known for having massive amounts of disposable income.
No, they are not.
So how does this platform actually keep the lights on without instantly alienating the exact demographic it's trying to save?
Which brings us to the third core loop, monetization and mentorship. Feature 6 details their revenue strategy, which is a highly calculated freemium messaging model.
Right. Let's look at the mechanics of this. If you are a free user, meaning you haven't paid a dime, you can reply to anyone who messages you, always.
Yep.
And you can initiate one brand new chat per day. If you want to initiate unlimited outreach, you hit the paywall. You have to upgrade to premium, which is $10 a month.
Pretty standard.
I look at this and I think, okay, it's a standard paywall. But why allow free users to reply at all? Why not just lock all the messaging down like some of the dating apps do?
Because if you lock down the ability to reply, you destroy the core utility of the network for everyone.
How so?
Let's say I'm a premium user. I pay my $10 a month because I'm actively trying to recruit a bass player. I find you, a free user, and I message you an offer for a gig.
Okay.
If the app tells you, pay $10 to read this message, you are going to churn. You'll leave, and I, the paying user, will get frustrated because nobody's replying to my messages.
Oh, wow. So locking the replies actually punishes the paying customer.
Exactly. By allowing free users to endlessly receive and reply to messages, ArtBnB ensures that the network remains highly liquid. A free user is never blocked from receiving an opportunity.
That's smart.
The paywall only restricts outbound intent. If you are aggressively trying to build a band and need to message 20 people a day, you have the intent and the drive to justify a $10 business expense.
It monetizes the recruiters, not the recruits.
Beautifully put, yes.
That is an incredibly elegant balance.
Yeah.
But then we get to feature 7. And I have to be completely honest with you. When I read this section of the document, I literally threw my hands up in the air.
I knew you were going to react to this one.
Feature 7 is the introduction of Barney, the AI creative companion.
This is undoubtedly the most polarizing and fascinating element of the product strategy.
The document describes Barney not as like a chatbot that helps you navigate the app settings, but as a built-in mentor. an AI sounding board for isolated independent artists who don't have managers or support structures. It helps you think through creative blocks, suggest opportunities, helps draft outreach messages. And I cannot get past the sheer staggering irony of this.
You're reacting to the paradox.
Yes, the entire premise of this deep dive, the literal foundational philosophy of ArtBnB, is that technology and AI have isolated human beings.
It did just say that, yeah.
We spent the first 20 minutes of this conversation tearing down algorithms for keeping people glued to their screens. And now, their grand solution to the problem of AI isolation is more AI.
I know, it sounds crazy.
They are using the disease as the cure. It feels like a massive contradiction. How can they possibly justify injecting a virtual AI manager into an app that is supposed to be about visceral, physical, human connection?
It is a profound contradiction on the surface, but when you look at the mechanics of how Barney operates, it is actually a brilliant reclamation of what AI can be used for.
Reclaiming it how?
We have to separate the tool from the application. Yes, AI currently powers the algorithms that keep you doom scrolling on TikTok, but Barney is engineered with an entirely different psychological objective.
Okay, defend Barney for me. How does this AI not just become another digital pacifier?
Because of its success metrics, the TikTok algorithm measures success by your immobility. How long can it keep you staring at the screen?
Right.
Barney measures success by your mobility. The UX of Barney isn't designed to trap you in an endless philosophical chat. It is designed to act on those active demand signals we discussed earlier.
Okay, give me an example.
Let's say you haven't opened the app in 3 weeks. You're in a creative rut. You're depressed. Barney might send you a proactive push notification that says, "Hey, I noticed you haven't collaborated lately. There are 3 bands within 5 miles looking for a guitarist this weekend. Do you want me to draft a quick intro message for you to send to them?"
Okay, so it's lowering the barrier to entry.
Exactly. Independent artists face a massive amount of executive dysfunction and rejection sensitivity. Sending a cold message to a stranger asking to play music is terrifying.
It really is.
Barney absorbs that friction. It doesn't want to chat with you all day. It wants to coach you off the couch, draft the terrifying email for you, and get you out the door.
Wow.
It is an AI whose prime directive is to facilitate real-world human connection.
It bridges the gap between digital anxiety and physical action. That is honestly a wild paradigm shift.
Isn't it?
It's judo flipping the technology, using the hyper-personalized nature of AI not to isolate you, but to handhold you back into the community.
It acknowledges that the isolation is so deep, some users need digital scaffolding to relearn how to interact in the physical world.
All right, you've convinced me on Barney. That's genuinely fascinating. So we've talked extensively about what they built, the profiles, the badges, the spaces, the AI. Let's pivot to section 6, which might be the most mind-boggling part of the entire document.
Oh, the subtraction.
Yes. It's a section entirely dedicated to what they built but decided not to release. They call it the art of subtraction.
From a